Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio. With me today is Fern Vazquez and Betty Showers. And we're going to kind of do a community garden wrap-up today. The garden has pretty much been picked clean, so Fern, why don't you just tell us how it's been, how'd it go, what's the plan?
Well, I think we had a very productive year this year, and I'm going to spout out some statistics to tell you how well it went. So we actually literally did almost a ton of food.
Wow.
Okay, that's not just an expression. So it, and the tomatoes and cucumbers and, all the garden produce became very popular. When I go to my distribution points, they say people are asking for it. They're like, any more new produce in? And they just came to really enjoy it and ask for it, fresh produce. So where it is now is we still have some tomatoes that are still pinking up and are still pickable. I just had like 2 buckets of tomatoes last Friday that I delivered to Salvation Army. It takes more days for them to become ripe, obviously.
Right.
And we're hoping to extend it out just a little bit longer while we still do have produce that can be delivered.
Yeah, we've had a little cooler weather, and that might stop the production,
Yes,
so to speak.
that
It normally
is.
shuts things off when the weather
Yes.
turns cold.
No, that's right. And we've had a cool September, this part of September. It feels more like October.
Well, as soon as fall officially hit, was that like the 21st of September, which is
Today.
today.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now we got cool weather, so it's
Yes.
kind of nice.
So and we're glad for that. We're happy
Well,
for
Betty,
cool weather.
you seen Betty all the time down there in the background working with your pickers, and you've done a lot on the back end of, so to speak, and behind the scenes this year. I know. Tell us what you've been up to.
Well, I've been able to go down and help pick some. I've been storing the food at the flower shop in the refrigeration systems. Fern picks, and she and the helpers bring it there, and then they can distribute it from there.
Well, we don't realize we got to do something with this when you pick it. I mean,
That
it's
is
just not
correct.
like
Yeah.
straight from the garden to the table. There's a distribution and a timetable there.
There is. So it's really been helpful to have the refrigeration system to store it, because where else don't have enough refrigeration at home to do it.
Right, that's for sure.
So that's been very helpful. And then I've gotten a lot of donations on canning jars that we can possibly use for next year.
She took a whole bunch I had off my hands.
Well, we've got over 400 so
Wow,
far.
wow. I carried around in the car for months thinking, I'm going to bring these by Betty's place and give them to her.
So we've got them all washed and packed and put away for next year,
Well, that sounds great.
which is really great.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what's next year look like?
Well, next year, the garden is in the planning phase now, and obviously you have a list of things. Well, this could have gone better. So we have some lessons learned that we're going to go over. One of the things that we're going to do very differently this year than we did last year, which is try to find a way to get our seeds earlier. Because when we put this thing together, kind of at the end of mid to end April,
It was
and then
pretty
beginning
quick.
to May, it was very quick. But what we found out was really we couldn't get all the plants that we wanted. And we may do a little different type of planting this year. We couldn't find potatoes at all. We searched all over to find potatoes, couldn't find them. This year we're going to start early, and we'll hopefully have a nice potato crop.
Well, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So
That'd be nice.
was there a particular item, a plant item that you do again?
I don't think it's so much like this plant item is just no good, we're not going to do it. I think it's maybe this plant idea here is better. So I think we may not, for instance, do radishes this year, but instead just try to advance more of a potato crop, because potatoes are a little bit more substantive than radishes.
Well, and more people, not very many people like radishes anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
we grew up with them, but
Right.
some of
Yeah,
these,
but it may not be
you
in
put
that.
it out there today. What is this?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Exactly. They see it more as a garnish.
Well,
not
one
as
thing
something to
I
eat.
heard, you learned how to pick lettuce.
And there's still a little bit of controversy about that. So I asked the vegetable gardener from Arizona who did our irrigation
Right.
to give me the correct process.
Yeah, because when you cut it, it'll grow back and keep growing back.
Yeah, and but here's where the controversy is, and I don't want to get a whole lot into this, but it's like, will it grow back as sweet and or is it a little bit more bitter tasting?
Oh.
That's what the
So if you don't cut it in the right spot, it's
yeah,
gonna.
right. So
Well,
that's
there's
but
an
you know
art.
what? There's yeah, do everything, but you know, a lot of people enjoyed our lettuce,
Well, that's great.
so
Well,
we did.
you know,
yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
So anything in particular you would like to add other than the potatoes? I mean,
You know, we have often, because corn is really kind of a popular one, a popular product, but I think it's just we're up against it a little bit in the corn, unless we can find like another separate spot to do it.
right.
It's just, it has a little output for the input that you put in. And the other thing is that once it grows real tall, then it shades
I
part
was
of the
gonna say,
garden.
yes,
that
yes.
where you really need the sun.
You got a little shade down there
Right.
already. I mean, you
Yes.
got such a small spot.
Yes.
It seems so small, but for the amount of food you turned out.
Well,
They
wait
did
till
great.
wait until you're weeding and picking. Then
Yes.
it's when you look up, you're like, this
Yeah,
isn't as small
yeah.
as what it looks like.
Yeah,
It's a
and
lot
people-
bigger.
And people say, well, let's make it bigger. Okay, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
So we're going to look for volunteers earlier this time.
Yeah, perhaps. We really had, I can't say enough good things about my volunteers. People who just showed up week after week, sometimes came in a couple days. It really, this became their thing, and they really enjoyed it.
I could tell when I was down there a couple times, we were filming, and you could just see, I mean, kids. And,
Yeah, yeah.
And they had been there multiple times
Right.
and made it part of their
Right.
schedule.
Right,
Yeah.
they did.
It's a good activity, and you feel like, you know, when you're giving back,
Right.
but you're also giving back to the community in a way that, you know, it'll be highly appreciated. And I think that kind of, there's a synergy there, so to speak,
Yes.
that people, you know, really will thrive to do that. They feel good helping.
They do.
Yes.
And
That's a
how about
great
your
activity.
distributors? I guess everybody was happy.
Yes. I'm going to grab a drink of
Yeah,
water.
grab a drink of water. Fern's getting all choked up now. Don't,
I'm talking about my
don't get so
people.
emotional on us, Fern. I know that you're
It's a great activity for the kids to do with their family.
right.
Great family activity.
Well, that's good.
No, we really worked in a good concert between the pickers and the distributors. Distributors were largely people my age or older, and there were people who couldn't sustain a lot of bending and stooping and stuff. But they came out for the distribution. They would, you know, I can't tell you how slick this worked to have Betty offer her space for storage, because what we would do is we would pick in the morning, or sometimes they would pick in the evening, early evening. We'd get it by Betty's, and then the distributors could go straight there in the following morning and just take it, and that worked really, really well. In terms of the again, the distributors, I probably had maybe 5 or 6 distributors. And it worked. They became very familiar with what to do. And sometimes if I couldn't do it, I would just say, can you run by Betty's and pick it up, and this time take it to Loaves and Fishes, or, you know, wherever.
I was going to say, who benefited from the garden this year? Who was it? It was Loaves and Fishes, and I know you're.
Oh, yeah, you're
you
talking about
mentioned-
distribution
Yeah, right.
rights.
Where did
Yes.
it go, and who?
It went to CCAP. It went to Salvation Army and to Loaves and Fishes, largely. There were some more informal distributions. You know, sometimes church groups. I delivered to, before we got the distribution thing totally set up, I reached out to different church groups who said, yeah, well, we have people in our congregation who definitely could use this. And then, so wasn't a whole lot of like informality in it, but there was some. Where you would find a family, somebody would
Sure.
tell you, this family really, really needs it. Is there a way you could just donate your pickings from Tuesday to them or something?
right.
And we would do that.
Well, I know you did a lot of work, and you can't say enough. I know you didn't do it for credit.
No.
But and it's obvious, and I noticed, and same way with the people that volunteered.
Yes.
This was a group of volunteers, not a bunch of group of voluntolds.
Right.
Right, like you normally have in organizations. These are
Right.
people that are part of no organization. They just showed up to help the garden. I mean,
They did.
it's not backed by an organization at all. And
No, you know where
Yeah.
most of it came from? Friends and friends of friends.
And they were hard workers.
And they
That's-
were hard workers. And if I would be like someplace like the gym, or I would go to the gym when they were still having, occasionally when they came back into session, I would just get up and announce. Or if I would be part of another group, I would say, "Hey, I got a garden going over
Yeah.
here. Would anybody like to help?" And I'm sure Betty did the the same thing. And and then it was them, and like, oh, I know somebody else who might enjoy
Sure.
picking. So that's how we brought it together. There was no, and you know what, Mike, you helped a lot by enabling us to publicize it through your interviews.
Well, that's what we're here for. We want other organizations and people that have good causes to contact us, and we'll have these little town talks
Yeah.
that we like to talk to them.
Right.
And I know you're not bashful letting people know when you need assistance. So
Oh,
Fern,
no.
we definitely know Betty's not bashful. So she's not bashful, Betty. It's definitely non-bashful. That's great, though. And then there's a lot of good things like this that happens in our community, other than the community garden, that people can get involved in. And just keep your eyes and ears open. And when someone
Yeah.
asks for you to help, just raise your hand and say, "I'll try it." I mean,
Yeah.
you had people try it and then they say, "Oh, that's not for us." But people will try it, and and some enjoyed it, and they locked in on it and did it. So
And there was one new couple who worked with us, and they did a lot of the staking of the tomatoes. This was Justin and Marisol. They were new to the
I
area.
remember them when I went down there and interviewed
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
and hard workers. Oh my goodness! I mean, they did really the hard elbow grease kind of work. But because they were new to the area, they learned to know some people, and so this is something that the pickers who didn't know each other. You're picking together, you learn to know each other a little bit. So there was not one time, not one incident in which someone told me, this is a really bad experience.
Right.
I hated every moment of it. I would thank them, and then they would say, no, thank you.
Thank you. That's what community's all about.
That is correct.
And I think we can do that, like the Bible says, fellowship one with another.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess we can do it at the garden.
It's nice to work
That's both
together.
ways. It is. It is.
Well, Fern, Betty, I really appreciate you coming in, talking to us. Let's get together early or late winter so we can start
Yes.
talking about
Yes.
the springtime and the
Yes.
next community garden that we're going to have. And I guess the Eastoms are going to allow you to use that space again as
I
of
believe
now.
so. Yes. Mhm.
And
That's
I
what we
want to mention
understand.
too the people that just miraculously showed up with an irrigation system this year. I mean, think about if you had to haul buckets of water, how that just
Oh, that'd been hard.
Yeah.
how people just
And it was on the
pitched
day.
in.
It was the day of the planting.
yeah. Can
So I don't know what we would have done
we had a
without
little
them.
divine intervention.
Yeah, we
Yes,
did.
we did.
I think
So
So
that,
people, that's part of the community coming together when they see a need,
right.
and they bought
Right.
into it, and people came together.
Right.
And it's one thing, they brought you the irrigation system, but they installed it too.
They
They
did.
installed it and checked on it.
Yes.
And did it. No, this is Kate and Corey. They're from Corey raised vegetables, had a vegetable garden in Arizona. And he would offer, not only, they came down and picked all the time and text me, Fern, you've got 3 buckets down here,
Yeah.
and.
Come get 'em.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come get them,
come
come
get 'em.
get your buckets. And so they were a wonderful addition.
Well, that's great. I just wanted
As
to
well
make
as the
sure
other-
that the ones that we do know, I want to give a little extra little shout out to, because I know
Yes.
that was a major thing that helped the garden really push
Absolutely.
it over the edge. That really made it successful.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Saved us for work, had more time to pick. Well, we're going to start out early next year, so keep an eye on the Royal Examiner, Fern, Betty, and others as we get together and talk about our community garden for 2021. And we hope that I hate to say it will be bigger, but I think it'll be a bigger success. How's that?
Yes.
We
It
won't
will
put
be.
more work, and more people get involved, and we may
Yes.
have multiple community gardens around our community.
We would. That's, I believe, what the wish is.
And we
Yeah.
don't
that we
need
hope
big
for.
ones, we just need
Yeah.
lots of them where
Right.
someone
Or
can do
if
it.
you just in your own garden, you can say, I'm going to plant an extra 4 or 5 tomato plants.
You can use an extra bucket every once in a while.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
This was a learning experience
It was,
this year.
yes.
It was.
Next
It
year we
was-
know what we're doing.
Well, again, it was fun as it lasted, and
Yeah.
and we'll start again next year. And again, I really appreciate you guys working in the community and really helping other people to learn to know how great Front Royal really is. It's
Yes.
a great community.
It is.
We need to keep doing more of this stuff and bringing our community together.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you,
and
Mike.
You're a big part
Well,
of it.
thank you.
Yes.
We really appreciate the comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Compliments. All right. Thank you so much.